You've been trading for months, maybe years. You've studied the patterns. You've learned the setups. You've watched the videos. You've read the books. And yet here you are, still stuck in the same cycle. You have a good week, then you give it back. You follow the plan for 3 days. Then you break every rule on day 4. You promise yourself you'll be disciplined this time, and then the moment pressure arrives, you're right back where you started overtrading, revenge trading, moving stops, chasing moves you missed, holding losers too long, taking profits too early. And the worst part? You know what you're supposed to do. You're not confused about the theory. You're not lacking information, you're stuck in a behavioral loop. And until you understand why that loop exists and how to break it, you will keep repeating it, over and over, for years. This isn't about finding a better strategy. This isn't about learning one more pattern. This is about breaking the psychological cycle that keeps pulling you back into the same destructive habits every single time you think you've moved past them. Let me show you what's really happening under the surface, why most traders stay trapped, and how the ones who break free actually do it. The losing cycle is not a strategy problem. It's an identity problem. Most traders think they're stuck because they don't have the right edge, or they haven't found the right system, or they need more screen time. But that's not it. They're stuck because they've rehearsed a losing identity so many times that it's become automatic. Every time you overtrade, you're practicing being someone who can't handle boredom. Every time you revenge trade, you're practicing being someone who can't tolerate being wrong. Every time you move your stop, you're practicing being someone who can't accept reality. Every time you break your rules, you're practicing being someone who can't be trusted. And your brain doesn't care if these behaviors hurt you. Your brain just recognizes patterns and repeats them. That's neuroplasticity working against you, because the pathways you've used the most are the ones your brain defaults to under pressure. So when the market gets choppy, or you take 2 losses in a row, or you see a setup you missed, your brain doesn't go to discipline. It goes to the pattern you've practiced the most. And for most traders, that pattern is chaos. Now let me show you 2 traders, because this comparison will make the cycle visible. Trader A has been trading for 2 years. Trader A knows the setups. Trader A has a plan written down somewhere. Trader A genuinely wants to succeed. But every month looks the same. Week 1, disciplined. Small wins, confidence rising. Week 2, 1 big loss. Frustration, a revenge trade. Now 2 losses. Week 3, trying to get back to even. Overtrading, taking mediocre setups, breaking rules. Week 4, either blown up or back to break even, exhausted, and starting the cycle over. Trader A doesn't understand why this keeps happening. Trader A blames the market, blames the strategy, blames bad luck. But the truth is, Trader A is stuck in a loop. And the loop is this. Emotional trading creates losses. Losses create emotional reactions. Emotional reactions create more emotional trading. It's a cycle. And the cycle feeds itself. Now Trader B. Trader B also struggled for 2 years. Same patterns, same frustration. But Trader B finally realized something. The enemy is not the market. The enemy is the version of myself that shows up under pressure. So Trader B stopped trying to trade better and started trying to become someone different. Trader B identified the exact moments where the loop starts, after a loss, after a win, after boredom, after missing a move, and Trader B built rules specifically designed to interrupt the loop at those moments. Not suggestions, not intentions. Rules. If I take a loss, I step away for 10 minutes before I even look at another setup. If I take 2 losses, I'm done for the day. If I feel bored, I close the platform instead of forcing a trade. If I miss a move, I write it in my journal instead of chasing it. These aren't trade rules. These are identity rules. They are designed to stop the old pattern from running. And every time Trader B follows them, even when it's uncomfortable, Trader B is practicing a new identity. The identity of someone who can handle discomfort without reacting. That's how you break the cycle. Not by trying harder, by becoming different. Now let's go deeper into why the cycle is so powerful. Because unless you understand the mechanism, you won't respect how hard it is to break. Your brain is wired to seek reward and avoid pain. That's survival. But trading creates a unique psychological trap because the reward is unpredictable. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you almost win. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and intermittent reinforcement is the most powerful form of behavioral conditioning that exists. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines so effective. Because when the reward is unpredictable, your brain releases dopamine not just when you win, but when you anticipate winning. So every time you take a trade, your brain lights up. Not because you made money, because you might make money. And that dopamine hit feels like progress. It feels like action. It feels like you're doing something. So your brain starts to crave it. And before you know it, you're not trading because there's an edge. You're trading because your brain wants the hit. That's the dopamine cycle. And it's invisible to you while it's happening because it feels like motivation. But it's not motivation, it's addiction. And the more you feed it, the stronger the loop becomes. Now here's where it gets worse. Every time you break a rule and it works, you reinforce the wrong lesson. You move your stop, the trade comes back, you make money, your brain says, see? Moving stops works, you revenge trade, it wins. You feel vindicated. Your brain says, see? Aggression works. You overtrade, you catch one good move. Your brain says, see? Staying active works. But those wins are randomness, they're variance, they're noise, and your brain doesn't know the difference between skill and luck, so it encodes the behavior as successful, and now you're more likely to repeat it. That's how the loop tightens, because every time you get lucky while breaking rules, you make it harder to follow rules in the future. Now, let's bring in a real-world example, because this pattern plays out at every level. Nick Leeson and Barings Bank. Leeson's story is famous, but the lesson is psychological, not financial. Leeson started with a small loss. Instead of accepting it, he hid it. Then he tried to trade his way out of it. He doubled down. He took bigger risks. Every time he lost, he increased size, hoping the next trade would fix everything. That's the losing cycle on steroids. He couldn't accept reality, so he kept trying to bend reality to fit his narrative. And eventually, it destroyed him and the bank. Now you might think, that's extreme. I'm not doing that. But you are. Just at a smaller scale. Every time you refuse to take a stop because it might come back, you're doing what Leeson did. Every time you add to a loser because I can't be wrong, you're doing what Leeson did. Every time you increase risk after a loss because I need to get it back, you're doing what Leeson did. The psychology is identical. Only the dollar amount changes. And the reason traders keep doing it is because they can't face the emotional discomfort of being wrong. So they trade to avoid the feeling, not to execute a plan. And that's the loop. Discomfort creates impulsive action. Impulsive action creates losses. Losses create more discomfort. Round and round. Now let's contrast that with the opposite mindset. Richard Dennis and the Turtle Traders. Dennis built a system specifically designed to remove emotional decision-making. The Turtles had entry rules, exit rules, position sizing rules, risk rules, and the entire system was built on one principle: trust the process, not your feelings. Because Dennis knew something most traders refuse to accept: your feelings lie. Fear says, exit now, even when the trade is valid. Greed says hold forever, even when the plan says take profit. Ego says you don't need a stop, even when risk management demands it. So the system was there to protect the trader from themselves. And the turtles who succeeded were the ones who could follow the system even when it felt wrong. That's discipline, not doing what feels good. Doing what the plan says, regardless of how you feel. And that's the only way to break the cycle, because if you keep making decisions based on how you feel in the moment, you will stay stuck. Your feelings are part of the loop. Now let's talk about why breaking the cycle is so hard, because I need you to understand this isn't about willpower. Willpower is a limited resource. It runs out, and the market is designed to exhaust it. The market tempts you with movement. It tempts you with setups that almost look valid. It tempts you with FOMO. It tempts you with revenge. And if you're relying on willpower to resist those temptations every single day, you will eventually break. That's why willpower doesn't work. What works is structure. Structure removes the need for willpower because it removes the decision. You don't have to decide whether to revenge trade or not. You have a rule. After a loss, I step away. You don't have to decide whether to move your stop or not. You have a rule. Stops are non-negotiable. You don't have to decide whether to overtrade or not. You have a rule, maximum 3 trades per day. The structure makes the decision for you. And every time you follow the structure, you're building a new pathway in your brain. A pathway that says, I can follow rules under pressure. That's how you break the cycle, not by trying to be stronger, by building systems that make strength unnecessary. Now let's talk about the specific moments where the cycle repeats, because if you can identify these moments, you can interrupt them. Moment 1, after a loss. This is where most traders fall apart. They take a loss. It stings. Not just financially, emotionally. So they immediately start scanning for another trade, not because there's a setup, because they need to fix how they feel. And that's the moment the cycle starts, because now they're trading their emotions, not the market. So here's the interrupt. After a loss, you take a mandatory break. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it takes. You don't look at charts, you don't analyze, you reset. And you don't take another trade until you can honestly say, I'm doing this because it's valid, not because I'm hurt. That's the interrupt. Moment 2, after a win. This one surprises people, but it's just as dangerous. You take a win, you feel great, you feel unstoppable, so you start looking for more. You lower your standards. You take setups that are close enough. You size up because you're on a roll. And then you give it all back. That's the euphoria trap. And it's part of the cycle. So here's the interrupt. After a win, you don't celebrate by trading more. You celebrate by honoring your plan. You take your profit. You log it. You move on. And you resist the urge to prove you can do it again immediately. Moment 3, boredom. This is the silent killer. You sit down to trade. Nothing sets up. Hours pass. You start getting restless. You start feeling like you're wasting time. So you take a mediocre trade just to feel productive, and it loses. Now you're frustrated, and the cycle begins. So here's the interrupt. Boredom is not a problem to solve. Boredom is information. It's the market telling you, there's nothing here for you right now. So you close the platform. You walk away. You do something else. And you feel proud, because you just proved you can resist impulse. Moment 4, missing a move. You see a setup. You hesitate. The move happens without you. Now you feel stupid. You feel left behind. So you chase it. You enter late. You get a bad price. It reverses. You lose. That's the FOMO trap. And it's part of the cycle. So here's the interrupt. If you miss it, you miss it. You write it in your journal. You analyze why you hesitated. You learn, but you don't chase. Because chasing is not trading. Chasing is reacting. And reacting keeps you in the loop. These 4 moments are where the cycle lives. And if you can interrupt them consistently, the cycle weakens. Now let's talk about the identity shift, because this is the deepest level of breaking the cycle. Most traders are trying to become profitable, but that's not the shift. The shift is, stop trying to be profitable and start trying to be consistent. Profitability is an outcome. You don't control it. Consistency is a behavior. You do control it. And consistency is what breaks the cycle. Because consistency means you show up the same way every day, regardless of results. You follow the same routine. You take the same setups. You manage risk the same way. You stop at the same limits. Win or lose, you're the same person. That's identity. And when your identity is stable, the cycle can't grab you. Because the cycle feeds on instability. It feeds on emotional swings. It feeds on confidence swings. It feeds on the need to fix, prove, or escape. But if you're just executing a process, there's nothing for the cycle to feed on. Now, here's the hard part. Building that identity requires evidence. You can't just decide to be consistent and expect your brain to believe you. You have to prove it. One decision at a time. You take a loss and you don't spiral. That's evidence. You take a win and you don't get reckless. That's evidence. You sit flat when there's no setup. That's evidence. You stop when you hit your max loss. That's evidence. After 10 pieces of evidence, you start to believe, I can do this. After 50, it becomes identity. After 100, it's automatic. That's how you break the cycle. Not by trying to escape it, by building a version of yourself that doesn't participate in it. Now let's talk about the market as a mirror, because this is critical. The market doesn't punish you for bad strategy. It punishes you for bad behavior. And every time you trade, the market is reflecting your psychology back at you. If you're impatient, you'll see yourself entering too early. If you're fearful, you'll see yourself exiting too soon. If you're greedy, you'll see yourself holding too long. If you're desperate, you'll see yourself overtrading. The market is a mirror, and the cycle continues because most traders refuse to look in the mirror. They blame the market. They blame volatility. They blame manipulation. But the market didn't make you move your stop. You did. The market didn't make you revenge trade. You did. The market didn't make you overtrade. You did. And until you own that, you stay in the loop. Because ownership is the first step to change. Now let's talk about poker, because poker players understand this better than most traders. A professional poker player can play a hand perfectly and still lose. They don't tilt, they don't spiral, they don't try to win it back immediately. Because they understand variance. They understand that short-term results are noise. They understand that their job is not to win every hand. Their job is to make high-quality decisions consistently, and over time, quality compounds. Trading is the same. Your job is not to win every trade. Your job is to execute your process correctly, regardless of outcome. And if you can do that, the cycle loses its power. Because the cycle feeds on outcome dependence. It feeds on the need for every trade to validate you. But if you're process dependent, there's nothing to feed on. You did your job. That's enough. Now let's talk about the athletes. Because athletes understand repetition. A basketball player practices free throws thousands of times, not because they're fun, because when the game is on the line, they need to trust muscle memory. They need to execute without thinking. Trading is the same. You need to practice your process so many times that it becomes automatic, so that when pressure arrives, you don't think, you execute. But most traders don't practice. They just trade, and then they wonder why they can't stay disciplined under pressure. You don't rise to the level of your goals under pressure. You fall to the level of your training, and if you haven't trained the discipline, it won't be there when you need it. So, here's what practice looks like in trading. You write down your rules. You review them before every session. You journal after every session. You track your behavior, not just your P&L. You identify your patterns, your triggers, your moments of weakness, and you design interrupts for each one. That's practice. And every time you execute correctly, you're strengthening the new pathway. You're weakening the cycle. Now let's talk about the long game, because breaking the cycle is not a one-time event. It's a daily choice. Every day, you wake up with a choice. Do I feed the old pattern, or do I build the new one? Do I react when I feel pressure, or do I follow my rules? Do I chase when I miss a move, or do I let it go? Do I revenge trade when I lose, or do I step away? Every decision is a vote for the identity you're building, and the identity that gets the most votes wins. So if you vote for discipline 9 times and chaos once, chaos is still in the race. But if you vote for discipline 100 times, chaos doesn't stand a chance. That's how the cycle breaks. Not dramatically, gradually. One boring, disciplined decision at a time. Now let's talk about the casino again, because this metaphor is perfect. The casino doesn't need to win every hand. The casino just needs the rules to favor them slightly, and then they need people to keep playing. Over time, the edge expresses itself. That's how professional trading works. You don't need to win every trade. You just need a slight edge, proper risk management, and the ability to keep playing without blowing up. But the losing cycle stops you from keeping playing, because the cycle makes you blow up emotionally, even if you don't blow up financially. You get frustrated, you quit, you take breaks, you switch strategies. You never stay consistent long enough for the edge to express itself. So breaking the cycle is not about trading better. It's about staying in the game long enough for skill to compound. Now I want to address something uncomfortable. If you've been stuck in this cycle for years, you might feel hopeless right now. You might feel like you've tried everything and nothing works. But here's the truth. You haven't tried everything. You've tried different strategies, different setups, different time frames. But you haven't tried becoming a different person, because the cycle doesn't live in your strategy, it lives in you. And until you change you, the strategy doesn't matter. So here's what actually works. Stop looking for the next edge. Start building the next version of yourself. The version that can sit flat without feeling useless. The version that can take a loss without spiraling. The version that can follow rules even when it's uncomfortable. The version that can resist impulse. That version of you breaks the cycle, not because they trade better, because they don't participate in the behaviors that create the cycle. Now here's the framework. Step 1. Identify your pattern. What do you do after a loss? After a win? After boredom? After missing a move? Write it down. Be honest. That's your loop. Step 2. Design the interrupt. For each moment, create a rule that stops the pattern, not a suggestion. A rule you will follow even when you don't want to. Step 3. Practice the interrupt. Every time the moment arrives, you execute the interrupt. You don't negotiate. You don't improvise. You execute. And every time you do, you're building evidence. Step 4. Track the evidence. Journal it. Measure it. Count it. Because evidence is what convinces your brain that change is real. After 30 days of evidence, you'll notice something. The cycle is quieter. It's still there, but it doesn't control you the way it used to. After 90 days, it's background noise. After 6 months, it's gone. Not because you fought it, because you starved it. You stopped feeding it the behaviors it needs to survive. Now let's talk about the emotional cost of staying in the cycle, because this is what most people don't calculate. Every month you stay stuck, you're not just losing money, you're losing time. You're losing confidence. You're losing belief. You're practicing failure. And the longer you stay in the cycle, the deeper the groove gets. So breaking the cycle is not optional if you want to succeed long-term. It's the only path. Because you cannot trade your way out of a behavioral problem. You have to become your way out. Now I want to end with the identity question, because this is where everything changes. Right now, when you sit down to trade, who are you? Are you someone who reacts to discomfort? Are you someone who chases validation? Are you someone who breaks promises to yourself? Or are you someone who executes a process regardless of how you feel? That answer determines everything, because the market will give you exactly what you're practicing. If you practice chaos, you'll get chaos. If you practice discipline, you'll get discipline. So the question is not, how do I trade better? The question is, who do I need to become? And once you answer that, the cycle starts to break. Because you're no longer trying to change your behavior. You're trying to change your identity. And identity change is permanent. Behavior change is temporary. So stop trying to fix your trading. Start trying to fix yourself. Build the rules. Follow the rules. Track the evidence. Become the evidence. And one day, not dramatically, but quietly, you'll realize the cycle is gone. Not because you escaped it, because you became someone it couldn't touch. That's how you break the losing cycle that keeps traders stuck for years, not by fighting harder, by becoming different. Sources used for factual anchoring.